The room exploded with laughter the moment the millionaire said it. His voice was loud, confident, and dripping with arrogance. "I'll give you all my money if you can translate this," he mocked, holding up a small, worn piece of paper. No one noticed the cleaning woman freeze in the doorway, or the quiet strength in her eyes, because what started as a cruel joke would soon become the most unforgettable lesson in kindness that room had ever witnessed. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional, inspiring stories about humanity, kindness, and unexpected twists, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. It really helps the channel grow and lets us keep bringing you powerful stories like this. You're watching Kindness Story Hub, where small acts of kindness change lives. The conference room on the 34th floor of a Manhattan skyscraper was filled with polished shoes, expensive watches, and sharp suits. This was a private meeting of investors, CEOs, and lawyers, people used to being listened to, respected, and obeyed. At the center of it all sat Richard Hale, a self-made millionaire known for his sharp mind and even sharper tongue. Richard believed intelligence was everything. If you weren't educated, wealthy, or influential, you were invisible to him. That morning, the meeting had stalled. They were reviewing a potential international deal involving an old family-owned company overseas. One document was written in a foreign language that none of the executives could confidently translate. Richard sighed dramatically and leaned back in his chair. "So this is what stops $1 million deal," he scoffed. "A few words none of you can read?" The room chuckled nervously. That was when he noticed her. The cleaning woman stood quietly near the door, holding him up. She looked to be in her late 50s, with tired eyes and silver streaks in her dark hair. Her uniform was plain, her shoes worn. She had clearly been trying to stay unnoticed. Richard smirked. "Hey," he called out loudly. "You. The cleaner." Every head turned. "Yes, sir," she replied softly. Stepping forward, Richard waved the paper in the air. "I'll give you all my money if you can translate this." Laughter erupted across the room. Some people laughed out of discomfort. Others laughed because it felt safer to join in than to stay silent. The woman looked at the paper. Her hands trembled slightly as she took it. For a moment, no one spoke. Richard leaned forward, enjoying himself. "Go on. Read it." The woman took a deep breath, and then she began to translate. Her voice was calm, clear, confident. She translated every line, every detail, without hesitation. Legal terms, cultural references, even the subtle meanings behind certain phrases that only a native speaker would understand. The room fell completely silent. Richard's smile faded. She finished, handed the paper back, and quietly said, "There's also a mistake in the third paragraph. If you sign it as it is, you'll lose controlling interest within 5 years." One of the lawyers snatched the paper and read it carefully. "She's right," he whispered. Richard stared at the woman as if seeing her for the first time. "Where did you learn that language?" he asked, his tone no longer mocking. She hesitated, then spoke. "I was born there," she said. "I was a literature professor before I moved to this country." The room was stunned. She explained that years ago, her husband had died suddenly. Medical bills swallowed her savings. Her foreign credentials weren't recognized. She took any work she could find to survive. "I clean offices now," she said quietly. "But I never stopped being who I am." No one laughed. Richard felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. For the first time in a long time, he felt small. He cleared his throat. "What's your name?" "Maria," she said. Richard stood up. "I owe you an apology," he said slowly. "And more than that. I owe you respect." The room watched as the most powerful man there humbled himself. That day, the deal was saved because of Maria. But the story didn't end there. A week later, Maria was called into Richard's office. She expected to be scolded for something or maybe fired for speaking up. Instead, Richard offered her a chair. "I can't undo how I treated you," he said. "But I can choose what I do next." He offered her a consulting position with the company, fair pay, and respect. He also arranged for her credentials to be re-evaluated and recognized. Maria's eyes filled with tears, not because of the job, but because someone finally saw her. Over time, Maria became a valued member of the team. But something else changed too. Richard changed. He began greeting staff by name. He listened more. He interrupted less. He stopped measuring people by titles and started noticing their humanity. One evening, Richard asked Maria why she didn't speak up earlier. She smiled gently. "Because kindness doesn't shout," she said. "It waits for the right moment." That answer stayed with him. Months later, Richard funded a scholarship program for immigrants whose professional qualifications were overlooked. He never put his name on it. When asked why, he simply said, "Because someone once taught me that kindness doesn't need applause." Maria still cleans sometimes, not because she had to, but because she liked staying grounded. And every time Richard passed her in the hallway, he smiled with genuine respect. The man who once laughed learned something priceless that day. Kindness doesn't always come dressed in power, wisdom doesn't always sit at the table, and the people we overlook may be the ones who can change everything. If this story touched your heart, remember this: a single moment of kindness can silence arrogance, heal wounds, and change lives, sometimes in ways we never expect. So today, choose kindness, listen before you judge, respect before you laugh, and remember, every person you meet carries a story you don't yet know. Thank you for watching Kindness Story Hub. Until next time, keep spreading kindness.